Before I put my final issue of Nintendo Power back on the shelf, I thought I'd take a look back at some of the things that made the last 285 issues of this magazine so special. At least to me, anyways. Well, the magazine debuted in 1988, and anybody with a current Nintendo Fun Club newsletter subscription got at least the first issue for free. And this is the first issue. And one of the coolest things back in the day about this magazine was just the detailed maps. Every magazine, every issue, had some sort of fold-out. Sometimes it was a map like this one, the complete strategy map of the overworld for the second quest of The Legend of Zelda. And on the other side was usually a colorful poster, just like this one for some baseball games. So almost every issue had a poster, and I can't tell you how many of these I cut out and put on my walls. So I'll show you. So as you can see, I used a lot of these posters in my basement, in my parents' house, up in my room. It was a fun way to decorate the gaming area that I used. So that was just a typical issue. In addition to all the contests, articles, reviews, previews that was included in every single issue, for a few years, Nintendo Power came out with a bonus issue. This is one of the best ones from January of 1993. It's really thick, and it has a lot of bonus content in it. Some of the coolest things about the about this bonus issue came with this Nintendo Top Secret Confidential Strategies and Tips for members' eyes only, of course. And the obligatory poster, which this one I actually had hanging up in my room, of Ren and Stimpy. That's just a standard issue for any issue of Nintendo Power. The bonus materials start further in the back here. The first of which is this Mario Paint Special, a Super Power Club, that was Nintendo Power's little club name, supplemental here. And it showed you how to make graphical stamps using the Mario Paint program. It's just a little insert. I spent hours and hours making these things with my Mario Paint game. Another cool thing is part of this particular Super Power Club bonus edition for January of '93 is making a paper model of the R-Wing fighter from Star Fox. And what you were supposed to do is cut these out, glue them together, and eventually, with some luck and skill, you'd end up with a 3D R-Wing model that looked like that one there. Then another cool bonus in this particular bonus issue were these decals for your controllers. This was for the Super NES controller, these were for the regular NES controllers, and this was for the Game Boy controller here. So very cool sticker decals. So that's an example of the bonus issue. Going back to the guides and supplemental inserts like the one that I showed you for Mario Paint over here. Nintendo Power also closely oversaw the production of any and all players' guides that they made. This one from Mario Mania, the NES Game Atlas, and the Super NES Player's Guide. And all of them always said the official guide to the Super NES straight from the pros at Nintendo. The only official game guide published by Nintendo with maps for the most popular hits ever. All the secrets of Super Mario World plus a whole lot more about Mario, only from Nintendo. So these were completely overseen by Nintendo Power. I have just about all of these Nintendo published players' guides. Something else that was cool later on in the magazine's life was the inclusion of these trading cards to the Super Power Club. They were on a back sheet in the sheet in the back of the magazine, close to the back cover, and you were supposed to tear them out, and you could buy these guides in several Super Power Supplies catalogs that they put out over the years. I'll show you an example of one of those. So this particular one was from the late 90s. You're going to see in some of the products that they offered here. Super Power Supplies catalog. Clothes, CDs, pens, keychains. And throughout the magazine they would offer these super power stamps, and you could trade those in to help pay for the purchase. Donkey Kong Country 2 CD and cassette soundtrack, for those of you who remember audio cassettes. More clothes and posters for Killer Instinct. Some lithographs, more clothing for Yoshi's Island. There's the order form and a place to put your super power stamps. Cut them out, paste them down, send them in to redeem your prizes. Some merchandise for Donkey Kong Country. Mouse pad. Computer monitor frame. Video for ending of some various Super NES games. More clothing. And then, of course, the obligatory merchandise for Nintendo Power Magazine. The game holders, travel case for Super NES, game pack rack, Game Boy tote. There's that album I showed you for the trading cards. Milk cap or Pog holder, if you remember Pogs. And then an organizer for the Super NES. So a lot of cool products you could get from the Super Power Supplies catalog, including a lot of the player's guides that they offered at the time. Something else that was offered frequently through Nintendo Power, as I showed you before, were soundtracks. Soundtracks for gaming has never really been popular in the United States. It's always been a lot more popular in Japan. But these are just a couple examples of soundtracks that I have from Nintendo Power. The Nintendo 64 trilogy, which is from Mario Kart 64, Star Fox 64, and Super Mario 64. The original Donkey Kong Country soundtrack for the Super NES. And a Play It Loud sampler. Original soundtrack, Volume 1. It's the only one they ever put out. From Yoshi's Island, F-Zero, Ken Griffey Jr.'s Winning Run Baseball, Legend of Zelda, Super Metroid, and Star Fox. Another item that wasn't really a product, so to speak, were promotional VHS tapes. Often these VHS tapes would come free so long as you had a subscription to Nintendo Power, and they were basically just ads for games that were coming out. This one was for Donkey Kong Country. The Invasion of Nintendo, this one's just for several Super NES games that were coming out at the time. Yoshi's Island. The launch of the N64 console. And basically they just showed game footage, and they tried to tell you that they were giving you special tips and tricks when really they were only giving you one, or something that was obvious. Like this one for Star Fox 64. And a lot of them were really cheesy. I'm sure you could look them up on YouTube. A lot of them are probably there. So several changes were made to the magazine over the years, but I have to say that the biggest one probably came with issue 222 back in 2007. Back in 2007, Nintendo changed location of its headquarters, Nintendo of America, and along with that change came a change in who was going to publish Nintendo Power. And that responsibility came to Future of America. And with that publishing company, we saw some changes in the magazine. A lot of them were really good. I enjoyed the years that Future Publishing spent making the magazine. For one thing, at the end of every year, for the most part, they did a holiday special. So you got a free magazine. Instead of getting 12 per year, you'd get 13, which was the holiday special. This one's for 2007, volume 223. Another change that Future implemented that I enjoyed was the subscriber edition version of each issue. And the subscriber edition was different in that it didn't include any text or graphics or titles over the art for the issue. All that information was contained here in this little box, along with the subscription information over here on the right-hand side. So the subscriber edition was a nice little feature. Some other thing that Future did that I really enjoyed had to do with their supplements. For example, Nintendo DS Game Guide for 2008, a collection of posters, which you open it up there, posters for popular games at the time. This is just half of each poster. You're supposed to take the staple out to be able to see the full poster. But a lot of really cool artwork in those posters. The Wii Handbook, Wii and Nintendo DS Holiday Buyer Guide for 2008. Wii Handbook for 2009. Supplement celebrating 20 years of Nintendo Power. Second edition of posters. Nintendo Power Summer Games. 2010 calendar. Mario Guide. Zelda Guide, both version 1 or first edition. Mario Guide, second edition. Closer look at all the Nintendo characters, superstars. Second edition of the Zelda Guide. And then the Ultimate Guide to the 3DS, which was the last supplement that they ever put out. As much as I enjoyed the supplements, I was a little irritated that I always had to buy them. I always thought they should be a free bonus for those who subscribe. You always had to know when they were coming out, keep looking for them, and then go buy them at the newsstand. But regardless, either way, they're a nice supplement to have. And that was a nice bonus that Future US did. So, with all that said, there's a myriad of other supplements and special features and contests and articles that Nintendo put out throughout the years, but I thought I would just highlight some of my favorites. So while I'm putting my final issue of Nintendo Power back on the shelf with the others, I'll leave you with all of the covers from Nintendo Power from 1988 to 2012. Enjoy!